Dates character. Here's Kevin Mackey with this week's Montana Moment, brought to you by Montana Chevy Dealers.
Most Christians observe Christmas on December 25th, but most Eastern Orthodox churches celebrate Christ's birth on January 7th. For parishioners at the Serbian Orthodox Church in Butte, it was a joyous week. It's here you'll find sacred connections to the old world. In our Montana Moment, Kevin Mackey with Pockets of Gold.
Holy Trinity Serbian Orthodox Christian Church was built on the flats in Butte in 1965. It replaced the church built by Serbian miners uptown.
There were 10,000 immigrants that came here to dig in the mines 120 years ago. And since Orthodoxy always uses the local language, that made the local language for 10,000 people Serbian. And so they got a priest that spoke a language that they could worship in.
The miners raised money to build their church in just 3 days. Their faith was unwavering.
They were paid in gold. And they came and they just emptied their pockets. They said, I can go to work tomorrow and I'll get more. But if I was to die tonight, I would have to answer to God why I have money in my pockets and we don't have a church.
The church has been a foundation among the faithful ever since, like Ellie and Merlin Norberry.
My wife and I, we were married in the original church up on Porphyry in Idaho in 1964. I was in the Marine Corps when I got out, so we started coming to this church in January of 1965.
The old church had to be abandoned.
Undermining from the tunneling made it cave in.
Today, the Divine Liturgy or service has switched from Serbian to English. Here, Christmas is celebrated on January 7th. That's because the old Julian calendar, which was used 2,000 years ago, lost one day every 150 years.
That Julian calendar is off by 13 days. December 25th on the Julian calendar falls on January 7th.
Shooting video isn't permitted during the liturgy. It's sacred. But through iconography, painted images, the Christ story is everywhere.
It's all Christ-centered, Christocentric. So the first thing you should see when you walk in is Christ. And he's in big living color all over the place.
A team of artists started painting these icons in 2003 and finished a few years later.
The lead artist, Uglisha Melitos, he said it's really good that we got the iconography done in the first 100 years. He said the other churches around the world, sometimes it takes 200-300 years to finish the artwork.
Because of recent water damage, a protege of Melitos is working on repairing some of those icons. It would be hard to count just how many images there are.
It's scripture in color and ink. It's what was kept before the Bible was put together. The stories were told with pictures because it transcends language.
Remember that for more than 1,000 years, most of the faithful were illiterate. They couldn't read, but they could follow the Christ story through pictures. You can see the nativity scene is in the process of being repaired.
Christ in the cave with the animals, and Mary and the wise men and the angels and the shepherds singing.
Here's John the Baptist baptizing Christ.
This is the wedding of Cana in Galilee, the very first miracle that Christ did. The transfiguration of Christ on Mount Tabor. You see the prophet Elijah and the prophet Moses, as is told in Scripture, when Jesus shined like the light of the sun.
Here's Palm Sunday.
Of Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem on the donkey, and children with the palms of victory.
The crucifixion of Jesus.
And there you see his mother and the Apostle John at his side.
Here's the resurrection.
Of Christ trampling down death and resurrecting Adam and all mankind.
And the ascension.
Where Christ went up and had angels ascending with him like in a cloud.
The church is filled with icons of the saints.
Saint Damien was known as a healer, a physician, an actual doctor who did it all for free. Saint Damien knew that the gift for healing was from God and it wasn't his to charge for. This is Saint George, the great martyr, and he's dressed in his full military regalia. He was a soldier.
Here's the death of Jesus' mother Mary.
Called the Dormition or Assumption of Mary. And that's Christ taking her soul into eternity.
Butte is a long way from Serbia, but the mining city's connections to the old country are still strong.
Behind us, we call it the iconostasis, and there's different saints are featured and apostles. And the different sections are walnut. Each individual section was carved in Serbia by different artisans.
Father Radojic's Christmas message is this.
that God and man are joined when Joseph adopts Jesus. Christ is adopted into humanity, and humanity is adopted into Christ. We become adopted children of God.
It's the same message those Serbian miners heard 120 years ago when they emptied their pockets of gold to build a church. Kevin Mackey, NBC, Montana. If you want to watch this story again or any of our Montana moments, go to NBCMontana.com/Montana Moment. These unique stories about the Treasure State, its history, and its great people are now the Montana Moment podcast. Look for new episodes every week. If you have a story idea, let us know. Until next time,